I'm Greg Tepper. That's Greg Powers. This is This Week in Crootin. It's This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers, our director of recruiting here at Dave Campbell's Texas Football. Follow him on Twitter at GPowersScouts. He has fine work at TexasFootball.com/recruiting. And of course, this is brought to you by our good chicken friends at Chicken Express. Chicken Express, when the playoffs are here, it's time to get serious about your chicken intake. Chicken Express.
The intro goes so hard whenever it ends with the Chicken Express logo. Like, I don't even...
You're like, the football's good.
Yeah. That intro.
Tendies.
It's chicken. It's fried chicken.
Fried chicken. How was your first week of the playoffs, buddy?
Good. It was a good first week of the playoffs. I think it was a pretty good first week of the playoffs for everybody across the state, especially the winners. The ones that have
what a bold
the ones that have
take
moved on into round two, who will get a chance to look at this week.
That's right. We'll start with our prospect on the rise. Our prospect on the rise, a guy who's still playing.
Yep.
College Station senior athlete Braylon Wortham pulled the trigger this week to commit to Sam Houston. He had previously been committed to Louisiana Tech. He's a DCTF 3-star, has really added a new element to this College Station attack. They use him in a variety of different ways. You think that when he gets to Huntsville, he could find his way and be a mainstay on the defensive side?
Yeah, I think so. I think maybe like as a hybrid safety linebacker type, because he has that big frame. He's so quick and explosive that I can't help but think that that would be really attractive on the defensive side of the ball as he grows and matures. It's just not that often that you find somebody 6'2", 6'3" in that 205, 210 pound range that can run like Wortham. I love that he also has the ability to show off his athleticism and explosiveness on the offensive side of the ball, which to me makes him even more valuable on the defensive side, or more alluring on the defensive side as a defensive prospect. Huge get, I feel like, for Sam Houston, who's doing a pretty good job in state this year, adding another tremendous, not only prospect, but this is one of the best players on one of the best teams in Texas.
Yeah, he kind of passes that eyeball test as far as like being an important player on a state championship contender. You know what I mean? If that's important to you, Braylon Wortham is certainly a playmaker in that regard, our prospect on the rise. Let's continue with, he was a commit this week, but he's not our commit of the week. That honor goes to Carrollton Ranchu wide receiver Terry Shelton, who committed this week to TCU, another guy who was previously committed to a Big 12 rival in Arizona. 6'4", 205, playmaking dude is Terry Shelton, taking his talents to Fort Worth.
This is back-to-back weeks that TCU's had the commitment of the week, and they've both been basically flips from Big 12 rival programs. They did lose a commitment. Chance Abel switched his commitment from TCU to Arizona State, but that opened up a door for Shelton to step through, and he committed to TCU after taking a visit to Fort Worth over the weekend after decommitting from Arizona. Field stretching type of outside receiver, 6'4", 205 pounds, just fell shy of joining the 1,000-yard club by like 80 yards this year. So he was like right there as a 1,000-yard type of uber productive type of outside guy. Great in red zone situations. I really think that he's a guy that you can lean on whenever you're needing to try to pick up 6 points, score a touchdown instead of kicking a field goal. He's the type of receiver you need in those situations.
He is you mentioned on TexasFootball.com, you think he's a game changer for this TCU class, and a guy who, look, size-wise, he looks a lot like some of the great receivers that TCU's turned into dudes. You know what I mean? For
sure, and he draws a lot of comparisons to those guys. The rankings are split on him, kind of. There are sites that value him up around, the top 25, top 30 in the state, maybe even a little bit higher than that. So he's in that 4-star range, and he's a guy that, I think this is a big pickup for TCU. One of the guys who I feel like had a strong senior tape.
Yes, absolutely, and that certainly helped him land there in Fort Worth. It's This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers, our Director of Recruiting here at Dave Campbell's Texas Football. You can involve the conversation at #TFToday. Let's round it all out with our Underclassman of the Week. Our Underclassman of the Week, we're going to Prosper to talk about their junior defensive tackle, Jake Johnson. Jake Johnson put together a really nice junior tape, and as a result, he's picked up 3 offers just this past week from Texas Tech, TCU, and Toledo. He's already got a handful of other offers, including places like Baylor, North Texas, Wisconsin, and Washington State. Jake Johnson, now heading into his senior season at 6'3", 275. Prosper's really good in the trenches. We talk a lot about the offensive line, but the defensive line ain't too shabby either.
Yeah, you're right there in this one, stealing all my thunder that I'm about to talk about. Like, they've got all these big-time offensive line prospects. But on the other side of the ball, they have some guys in the trenches too, and Jake Johnson is one of those 6'3", 275-pounder. As we're watching the highlights and I'm explaining to you what type of player he is, he's a guy who plays with tremendous pad leverage, is like that prototypical defensive tackle as you think about it in your mind. He's not too big. He's not too he's very athletic for his size, plays with good leverage, moves guys back and can play in the gap and not be moved out of a gap. So brings all the things to the table that you're looking for in a defensive tackle, and he plays with an above average motor, which is harder to find in a big body on the interior of the defensive front. So Jake Johnson checks a lot of the boxes. Very competitive program there. Every offensive lineman is a P4 level type of player, so practice is very spirited and competitive, and that's felt throughout the program, I think, and that's why you're starting to see more guys in the trenches at Prosper pop up. Is because iron sharpens iron, as they like to say. Yeah,
he will. When you watch the tape on him, he does a lot of the dirty work. You know,
blue collar.
Blue collar. He's the guy who, like, at its core, a job of a defensive tackle is not even necessarily to get tackles. Right. His job is to keep linebackers clean. And when you watch his tape, the tape's inevitably going to be a lot of tackles and stuff like that. But, like, you keep watching, you're like, oh, what he's doing is he's holding the blocker and making sure he doesn't get to the next level. He is a problem up there, and as a result, it makes the whole defense better.
Yeah, shutting down lanes, funneling things through to where guys can clean up behind him. He does a tremendous job of that. He's wide. Did he not seem wide? You know what I mean? Like, Did he not seem like he was playing wide on that tape? He's taking up 2 gaps just by standing there, and you're not going to push him around. Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with that. He's just a dude that just, like, laces up his work boots and does the grimy stuff to help his team win.
Another guy who laces up his work boots and does the grimy stuff to help his team win is Greg Powers, our Director of Recruiting.
Happy to do it. Happy to do it right next to you.
Grimy.
Alongside you right here.
Grimy, the Grime Brothers. Follow him on Twitter at GPowersScouts. He has fine work at TexasFootball.com/recruiting. It's Grimy Greg's. The Grime Corner.
I don't know about that one.
I don't think I like that one.
I don't know about that one.